Welcome back to the Box2Box podcast.
This is week number 2, and what a set of games we had. PSG Dortmund and Real Madrid Bayern. Wow, what a set of games.
We're going to be going into the Prem. Is Liverpool's season a failure? And is the Premier League spending cap good or bad for the league? We're going to find out.
Let's get into it.
Woo!
You ain't going home,
Your
bro.
Honor, I'm sorry. Your Honor, I'm sorry. If we don't compete with City, this is a failure of a season. You've heard
Okay,
it here
so
first.
I can already tell you, I'll tell you in advance, you failed.
I'm going to take a central midfielder, Federico Valverde.
What?
Yeah.
No, that's
He has
crazy.
been the worst midfielder for Real Madrid this season.
That's
by
like saying,
far.
That's like saying Neymar was the worst player in MSN.
Episode 2 is here, week number 2. And if you're seeing this, we actually started another channel just for this podcast. So this is going to be the last podcast that you guys see on this main channel. Make sure you go sub if you want to keep watching these podcasts and check the description down below.
So basically, like, this channel is going to be our same regular Box2Box, and then we're going to have the podcast channel where it's going to be all our podcast stuff. We're going to dive really into the sport.
And you're going to be seeing shorts where we're going to be doing shorts even for our subtopics that we speak about in the podcast. So if you want to check that out, also check that.
Low-key, the algorithm's going to decide if they see those videos or not.
That's true. But
They got a sub, though. They got a sub.
yeah, they got a sub 100%.
You don't want to miss his wild takes.
Yeah.
This podcast is going to be wild.
Last week, if you look back last week, I actually had some good takes.
We gave him a sedative last week, like an elephant tranquilizer to like,
Right there. Like
and then he started speaking regularly. But this week we didn't give it to him, so I don't know.
we're going to fingers crossed.
Oh my God.
And we're in the Dortmund kit too, so we're going to have to be careful this podcast.
I got a PSG t-shirt. He has a Dortmund kit. And while recording this, the game is going to start in what, an hour and a half?
Yeah. So we're gonna
first leg.
We're gonna give you guys are gonna have to wait till the end of the episode. We're gonna come back and film after the game and give you guys our like summary after the game. But we're gonna do everything that was covered in the sport before that. So whatever. We'll discuss football in a couple minutes. Paula, how was your weekend?
My weekend wasn't too good, to be honest, because I'm in university. So these guys graduated, but I'm still in university.
Sucks to suck.
So I've been in final exams for like the last 3 weeks. And
How do you think they went?
not too bad. I already got one of the grades back. And I got
Looking good or bad?
I got an A+.
Oh my God. We're sitting with Einstein over here.
And it's not even gonna brag. I got a 48% on the midterm for this class.
As long as it passed.
So technically, it's impossible for me to have gotten an A+, because I got a 48% on a 25% midterm. So
Did he curve it?
maybe.
He must have curved.
I don't know if people even know what curving is if they're in high school. Or...
So curving, if you're still in high school.
Give him the rundown, Varva.
it's basically like Real Madrid players.
So if the whole class gets 48%, you can correct me by the way if I'm wrong. I did curving. I didn't have much curving to do in my program, but let's say the class average is 48% and I get 45%. They'll curve the 48% up to like let's say a 60% and then adjust my grade to that.
It gets a lot more detailed because sometimes they curve on like a bell curve.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the people that got higher end up getting dragged down technically. But most of the time, to put it simply, like everyone will get a 10% boost on their grade for doing nothing.
Very rarely do they curve down.
Oh, rarely.
I mean,
Yeah.
your teacher's going to really have to hate you.
Yeah,
If you're
yeah.
getting curved down. Like, you got to be a terrible
I've
student.
been curved down.
Oh my
You
God.
got
been
dragged
curved
down,
down.
suffering
Yeah.
from success.
Well, the people below it's like communism. The people below got dragged upwards, and the people on the top get dragged. So everyone gets dragged towards the average.
That's just
I know. I emailed the teacher, and but I also it was during COVID, and I did an online exam, so I couldn't complain too much
Yeah.
about the
we're
class.
not going to talk about online
Let me
exams
go
during
review that
COVID.
Zoom footage for 1 second.
You gonna see me? Like,
Wait, so
I have like Millie behind the camera.
FaceTiming your friend. Okay, so what was that answer?
The COVID exam time was a good time.
What a
I'm
time
not
to
gonna
be
cap.
alive.
I'm not gonna cap.
I never cheated during COVID exams.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
University, don't check my don't check
keep my
my
grades
footage.
there.
But other than that, that's honestly not a bad weekend. A+. I did
No. What? Not like a weekend. Literally like 9 a.m. to 12 o'clock at night, studying every day for the last 3
Look,
weeks.
you say that, but as someone who graduated, I'll tell you, low key, you miss it a bit when you leave school.
Varvar, I'm gonna be real here with you. You've never studied, like, you've
Yes,
never
I
done
did.
3 weeks in a row of 9 to 12
Yes,
p.m.
I did.
Oh, boy.
I had a class, okay? Com 308, okay? You don't know the struggle of this class.
Paula, I'm sure Paula knows the struggle, brother.
I studied a week, day and night, and I still got like 32% on my first
That's
midterm.
an L right there.
Well
If
done,
I study a week for anything, I'll guarantee a B
Me and
minus.
Firms were actually in that class together, and our class average was like 30% on the first midterm. So please, I knew the struggle. I can understand most of my classes. I didn't know the struggle. That one I understood the struggle.
We'll talk once you complete mechanical vibration.
Oh, and then once the vibrations hit, bro, you're done. You're done.
By the way, have you guys been following the Kendrick Drake beef? I don't know. I don't want to go too off topic, but because this is something I wanted to bring up. What team are we on here?
I mean,
listen,
this is.
I don't think Kendrick.
6 all the way here. 666. You know the vibes here.
I don't think Kendrick packing. Pause.
Low key, you guys might not have known this. Millie was actually born in Toronto.
No, brother.
He's a 6.
No,
He's for the 6.
I was born here.
You were?
Yes, I was born here.
You were born here?
Grew
I
up
was born
in
here.
Toronto.
I grew up in Toronto.
Okay.
And then that's why boys, that's why I talk like this.
I didn't know you were born here.
Yeah, I was born here, and then I moved to Toronto, and then I moved back here, and then that's where I met you guys in high school. Great times, man.
I like the lines. So wait, you said Team Drake, right?
Bro, when you make a song that sounds better, you're automatically gonna.
Okay, because people bring up this, and if you guys haven't listened to them, basically Kendrick dropped I don't want to say it, but like a 6-minute pack of mid. And then, look, the lyrics were cool and all, but he didn't give us information we didn't know about Drake. So the things that he said was basically that Drake has ghostwriters, which we already knew, okay? And in rap, if you guys don't know, it's a big thing that having someone write your raps for you, it's a big deal. But we didn't already know that.
Yeah, but
Drake.
it's still an L. Like, that's like... It's,
An L for Drake.
No, it is still an L for Drake.
Oh my goodness.
I don't think so.
Brother, he didn't write his diss on Kanye for Red Button. He didn't write that.
Okay.
How you not gonna write a diss?
Because it's like...
How you gonna delegate a diss song?
Okay, but it's like you think Dude Perfect comes up with their YouTube ideas and stuff like that? Like, I think they delegate it.
Yeah, no, but there's some stuff you got to take personal. When Kendrick is coming at you, you take that personal. So Drake has to do everything himself. And at the end of the day, court of public opinion, my guy. Kendrick could put out so many songs and everyone's just going to be at the end, SZA got you wiped down, Travis got you wiped down. That's just, at the end of the day,
Metro Boomin shut you?
So it makes, get your drums ready, bro. That's just all it is. Start making brrrr.
For those that aren't really into rap, we're gonna get started talking about football.
Oh,
Yeah.
Listen, this is just stuff that happens in our lives.
I'm just going to vote Drake. If we're going to do a vote, Drake, Paolo, what's your vote?
It's just men writing poems to each other at the end of the day, so I'm voting no one.
You're voting no one?
It's both an L, to be honest.
These are boys.
Drake dropped off a 7 out of 10. Kendrick dropped off like a 4 out of 10. The next one will actually be like, we'll see.
It ain't no back-to-back.
It ain't no back-to-back.
It wasn't back-to-back. I can agree with that. It wasn't a hit 'em up.
That's some memories right there.
That is some memories.
Are we getting old?
I think we are getting old.
No, we're just starting our
How old
lives.
do you guys think we are? Comment down below how old you guys think we are. And we're all...
The same
We're
age.
almost all the same. Almost all the same age.
Paolo has a late birthday, but whatever.
Yeah, we're almost all the same age.
I wonder how old they think we are.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's actually one of the questions I'm very curious about.
Yeah.
I feel like I look like much older than I actually am.
Yeah. I think we all do.
After an exam, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, let us know in the comments down below what you think about that. But I see this Bayern kid behind me. Why don't we start with the big topic of the day?
What a game, by the way.
These are the two best teams.
For me, we're gonna speak about PSG, Dortmund. Let's see how that performance goes for both teams. But this was probably the CL final, in my mind.
PSG, let's say Bayern make it in some reality.
Yeah.
Bayern, PSG, we've seen that before and it was a snooze fest. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. But I mean, that could be a serious game.
Yeah, I agree, but I still think Bayern would be favorited in that matchup. Look, I have PSG as my winners. I've had them since the start. But to say that their performances have been convincing this year is... Bayern haven't even been good, but they've been better than PSG, I would still say.
But this is a Champions League thing. Like Bayern in the Champions League, we've said it since the
Mbappe
beginning.
in big games.
Tuchel as well.
Yeah.
Tuchel. I think all their eggs are in the CL basket right now. They're going to play 100%.
Because my view on it is the club brings aura. Bayern have a certain aura to them that they bring to every Champions League tie. But then you have a guy like Nagelsmann that used to be there, and he kind of took away that CL aura that they used to have. Now you have Tuchel, which has that knockout power as a manager, which he's purely, I'd say, a knockout coach. And you put those together, and you get a serious club.
You know what's crazy is that Ancelotti worked at a club like Real Madrid, but when he went to Bayern, it actually didn't even work out there. But he's known as like the aura coach, like the coach with the most aura, other than maybe Pep. That's why it was crazy that he didn't work out there. But you can see him at Real Madrid, like CL specialist.
What do you mean didn't work out?
He really did not work out there. Like he didn't take Bayern to the levels. I think that he came in after Pep, and it wasn't. Pep took them to. Obviously, you can't hold them to Pep standards, but he wasn't that good.
Okay, Ancelotti is one of the greatest managers. One of
top 3, top 4.
But take out his Real Madrid stint. I know you can't, but take out his Real Madrid stint.
Yeah.
He, other than AC Milan, Everton was what was his time at Everton? Bayern, he wasn't doing the best at Bayern with the team he
Okay,
had.
but he was good at Chelsea.
That's true. That's
Very
true.
Chelsea,
And AC
yeah.
Milan was world class.
Yeah.
Napoli, he wasn't great. Like that was just a whole drama-filled stint. So
Yeah, but still, he does well with what he's given.
he
For sure.
does very well with what he's given.
Player management is one of the best we've ever seen.
I think the problem is that you give Ancelotti a team that doesn't have the best players in the world, and then he struggles a little bit because he's able to let those players, like we saw at this game versus Bayern, he just lets those players play to the best of their abilities. And when you don't have the caliber of players like Real Madrid do, it's very difficult to play the way Ancelotti wants.
Everton, he brought in James Rodriguez. I don't think Lukaku was there at the time he was managing, but
think so.
North actually that was recent.
That team was
2020.
very poor. That team was very, very poor. The Ancelotti wasn't able to instill his play style on a team that they're very systemic. That was a very systemic team.
But I think with managers like Ancelotti, they're kind of like they really kind of let the players figure it out themselves.
Let him ball tackle.
Yeah, like you see at Real Madrid that works because they have the best crop of players in the world, or up there with the best crop of players in the world. Then you take a manager like, this is years ago, but when Lopetegui went to Real Madrid, it was like a complete disaster because he's more of a
Barca
instilled
manager.
Tactics. Yeah. Well, not as much Barca. I would say, let's say you put De Zerbi in Real Madrid, like that's going to be a massive failure because if you De Zerbi's you listen to me or you're getting benched type stuff.
Yeah.
So De Zerbi actually has patterns of play like instilled into his team where the CDM needs to pass to that guy. Ancelotti's the complete opposite. He lets the players figure it out.
There's
themselves.
never two plays for Real Madrid that are the same. And I think we saw it perfectly in that game. We were talking about this off camera, Varvar and I, and we were talking about how Real Madrid never convincingly win. Like you never visibly watch them versus another good team, obviously, and say, wow, they really deserve to win that game.
That I agree with.
Because when their tactics are basically, we're strong at the back, we have very strong defense, and then we just let everybody else ball and figure it out.
Even their Benzema CL win where he won Ballon d'Or, every single round you went out and said, you know what, Real Madrid could have lost that.
Bro,
even the final,
Benzema,
it took a Courtois man of the match performance to win that game.
But that's why we used to always say, I don't think Real Madrid have it this time, because those are stuff that you can't, like, it's not tangible. It's not on paper. A Courtois man of the match performance, Rodrigo 2 goals in extra time, like you can't write that.
There's just some sort of feeling and belief amongst that team where they know, okay, they're down 2-1, but no point in that game did I think, wow, Real Madrid might actually lose this game.
Yeah.
It was the same thing with Man City. I think that's basically what lost Man City the game, is the feeling that Real Madrid is actually going to come back. Like Real Madrid could win this game. And that's just based off the aura of this team. And I felt like that's how they were playing versus Bayern. Bayern were, tactically, they threw the book at Real Madrid, in my opinion. And
Tuchel outcoached Ancelotti. It has to be said.
He did. Because
What is out coaching?
The only way Real Madrid scored both of those goals is individual mistakes by Kim. So
we'll get into that. We will get into that.
If Ancelotti's saying Vini, ISO
yeah, but
Kim.
the penalty was 2v5 for Bayern, and he gave away a penalty. That's just a stupid mistake that you can't be doing in a game against Real Madrid.
There's an argument that Bayern should have won that game, because in the first 2-3 minutes of that game, it was all Bayern just bombarding. Like that first half was split up into two, in my opinion. It was like one half of Bayern playing their game, getting those opportunities, but the legs were just too cold. They weren't able to finish those chances. And then the second half of that first half, Bayern just did not control the ball, moving way too slow, and Real Madrid were just playing the way that they wanted to, and they ended up scoring. So I think Bayern at halftime, they had to make that decision. Okay, we have to make some tactical changes. But Real Madrid, at the end of the day, they go into that locker room and they're like, we're Real Madrid. We could win this game.
But you are at the Allianz, which is the Allianz is a serious stadium. And yesterday we saw it. I mean, when Man City played Real Madrid, I know they had like Los Blancos days where everyone wore white jerseys.
Yeah.
And I think yesterday Bayern tried to bring that energy and all wore red. The entire
You are not him, bro.
Huh?
You're not him,
Brother,
It was cool.
Did you see?
It was cool, but from like
okay. You have a bias. You have a bias 'cause you went.
Peter Schmeichel, because I was watching the CBS or Paramount.
That's a whole other discussion, but whatever.
Yeah,
We'll have about later about streaming services.
But what I'm saying is that Schmeichel, he goes to that game, like he was reporting on it, and he said this was the best atmosphere he's ever seen at the Allianz.
It looked insane.
It was ridiculous. You couldn't pinpoint one specific person in a crowd. It was just a group of people.
Yeah.
I don't know how the seating arrangement works there. I don't know how the tickets were sold there.
Did you see behind Lunin in the first half the sea of flags and
my goodness.
ultras?
Yeah, but you
Gorgeous.
can't compare it, in my personal opinion, to like, let's say the real, like Anfield, in my opinion, is better.
Brother,
And
How can you say that?
no,
Did you
I'm
watch
just gonna.
the game?
San Siro, in my opinion, is better. Like last year when we had that San Siro Milan Derby semifinal, like that was ridiculous.
Why? Because there's tifos.
Listen,
Come on.
no,
Bro,
it was
were you
actually
watching? Did you watch yesterday?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes,
'Cause we also
100%.
asked him. He didn't see the Albanian chick either.
You didn't see it. He must have missed it. He was probably on his phone on Twitter.
Yeah, he was
But,
on- yeah.
We saw it.
Yeah, we saw it.
We saw it, man.
But no, that was some of the best aura of a stadium I've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was absolutely fantastic display by the Bayern supporters.
But now they're going back to the Bernabeu
and
in
you
game
guys know.
2,
You
and
guys
Real
know.
Madrid tied them in the first. Like, if away legs existed, I'd say this tie is over. But away goals are not. They don't exist.
I like that rule implementation, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't think away goals should mean more than home goals, in my opinion.
It takes too much away. Like, if I tie someone on the pitch, I shouldn't lose to a technicality.
I agree.
I agree. It's one of those changes that there was a lot of resistance at first because you don't want to change what's already there. But as we've seen, like it adds so much more drama because that City Real game, that City Real penalty shootout would not have happened.
True.
It wouldn't be possible with away goals, home goals, and whatever.
True. I didn't think about that. Also, the Dortmund Atletico, it wouldn't have been such a
wouldn't have
movie
happened
if
either.
away goals existed.
Yeah.
So I think that was a fantastic change. But at the end of the day, the atmosphere, the vibe, like this is a Champions League game.
True.
You could tell, and I do agree. Going back to it, this is a CL final. I do think that whoever wins this tie, they win the Champions League.
I'll hold my opinion on that. I'm gonna watch. I
want to see the PSG
I want to
and
see the
Dortmund
PSG Dortmund
performance.
game.
Listen, at the end of
Well,
the day,
Dortmund could look like
Barbara, you're
prime
wearing a
Pep.
kit.
wearing the kit. be
Dortmund
careful.
can look like prime Pep's Barcelona, and I still won't think they're winning that CL final. But I want to see that PSG
True.
performance.
Also, before we move on, I want to talk about Bayern because I want to talk about the flowers we should be giving them and players like Musiala, players like Sane,
Yup.
and you guys will say Harry Kane, although I think he did not play that well.
I think we should start first off with Harry Kane because I do think
That's what jumps off the page.
because listen, Sane got on the score sheet and Musiala played fantastic. Both those players played fantastic, but Harry Kane in the first half was absolutely fantastic.
you're watching a different game, bro. If you think
no.
Harry Kane stole the show, you're watching a different game.
It's very-
Sane is the key to that system.
It's very difficult to find another striker that that contributes that much to a play.
It's not like Lewandowski, where if he doesn't end up on the score sheet, he didn't contribute to the game.
I agree with that. That's why I mentioned him as the third. But you take Musiala or Sane out of that game, there's nothing happening.
I think that it's much easier to find players like Sane and Musiala than to find a striker like
But not
Kane.
their performance yesterday. Not a performance like yesterday. They stole the show.
But that the first half for Musiala and Sane were very stale. Like they didn't really do much.
No, Sane was crazy first half.
He was
Sane
okay,
was
but he was playing on the
insane.
left. He was playing on the left.
Yeah.
And he was playing good, but they weren't as effective after, let's say, the 25th minute mark. Once they flipped, first off, hats off to Tuchel, he made the changes that he needed to. Once they switched those wingers, Sane was playing on the right, Musiala on the left, it a completely different game. Sane was just destroying Real Madrid's backline. But I mean, if we're gonna point out the sore thumb here, the man that costed the game,
Yeah, Kim and Jae.
it's Kim and Jae.
But there were a lot of I'd say there's a wide variety of the good and the bad last game because guys like Lucas Vazquez should not have even started that game, to be honest.
He was terrible.
He really stuck out. And
Well, it's because Carvajal was suspended. So.
yeah.
But
you visibly saw that he
yeah,
did not
but
fit
it's
in that
because
game.
I think right now at this stage in his career, I think Lucas Vazquez can even tell you himself he's not ready to play those elite level games, but he's ready to play those games against Sevilla, against Girona, like those level games.
He could have also had an off day to give
Yeah.
it. Like, not everyone could be the best always. But someone that had an amazing day, I think we can agree, Limer.
Yeah.
Which is I didn't think Limer had that level in him at all.
No, I could see it sometimes in his performances. It's about the consistency. Will he
True.
be able to do it again and again?
You thought he had that in him.
I think he had it in him. And look, this is someone Bayern just got last summer, I think, for like, if I want to say less than 20 mil. So, like, obviously that's a great purchase.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, 100%, because he had 1 year left on his contract. He might. I think it was less than 20. I know it was less than 20 mil.
That's a good pickup.
And with Rangnick coming in, that's his Austrian coach team. That's his Austrian coach. Like, I think you're going to see Konrad Limer even take another step. And the thing about Limer is that he can even play right back. He can play CDM. He can play almost anywhere.
I think Bayern fans could correct me. I haven't watched a lot of their games this season, but Pavlovic also could be an important player for the future for them.
I do believe that if there's one player that like their position is at stake, it's Goretzka. Because I don't think Goretzka had a fantastic game. I think Limer had a better game. I think like most of that team had a better game than Goretzka.
Bro,
like that's why he got yanked.
Goretzka's been holding his own though.
I think at the end of the day, when you're facing Real Madrid in the Champions League, it's not enough just to hold your own.
That I feel like that is the barometer.
I think Goretzka is a very similar player to Rabiot. I mean, he's a very defensively sound player who can run box to box, but his offensive like capabilities really hold him back from being in that like upper tier of midfielders. Like he's reliable, he's dependable, but he's a better Scott McTominay, if that makes sense.
That's a little harsh on
Yeah.
Goretzka, in my opinion.
No.
He's much better than Scott McTominay.
He's a better Scott McTominay. But I think in a dysfunctional team, you would see him completely be a liability.
I could see that. I agree with that.
But I do think Bayern, at the end of the day, they played their game to a T. Like Tuchel looked very upset on the touchline most of the game. Like he was very like uncomfortable, always like pointing something out. But I think that was mainly towards like the back line. Kim Dyer, when you're going into a CL game with Kim and Dyer,
I need to ask you, Serie A heads, okay? Kim, every time I watch him in a Bayern kit, he's horrible. So is the brother terrible or like what?
If Firms was here, he'd jump right on you and pause. He jumped right into this conversation. I think Napoli that season was the epitome of overrating players and systems, managers, everything.
it was an anomaly.
It was an anomaly.
It was just a once in a lifetime kind of thing that just everything clicked at the same time. Don't tell me it isn't.
Kim and
because
Jay was getting shouts,
But Kim and
best
Jay-
center back in the world.
But Kim and Jay at Napoli, he was one of the best center backs in the world. There's some sort of miscommunication that's happening at Bayern where maybe it's this instability where there's no starters.
I
you know what I mean?
I want to say this because you guys can defend yourselves. I just don't think that Kim really played anyone of the echelon that you would see in a Real Madrid or Barcelona or those Man Cities in Serie A.
No.
That's not true.
Other than Rafael Leao, is there anyone, and Osimhen, but Osimhen's on his team, and Kvara maybe.
Lukaku.
Can you, at that point, when last season, Lukaku was not in that upper echelon of striking.
Leao.
I said other than Leao.
Okay.
But that's the only player I can say is a top tier attacker in Serie A.
Well, listen, there's Vlahovic kids as well, but also listen.
Not top tier.
There's also Champions League. Champions League, they faced some tough teams. I'm forgetting off the top of my head who they played last season. Maybe Barcelona. Could I be wrong?
I feel like they.
It was this season they played Barcelona.
I don't remember.
I think they played last season.
No, but
Barcelona
I think it was
as well.
last season. At the end of the day, I don't remember, but I do remember that they were playing some top tier teams. So at the end of the day, Kim, by himself, individually, he's a very good defender because he was making those individual blocks when he was man-to-man during the game versus Real Madrid. But when he was caught in space, he knew that he was caught in space and he was in trouble. So he's trying to fix all these errors at the same time. And let's say on that Kroos goal, Kroos sees that Vini is in space. Kim sees that Vini is by himself. He tries to fix it, get man on Vini. Kroos just sees that like
But
on a silver
why
platter.
does he step?
It must be a miscommunication issue.
No, we shouldn't be blaming Kim for that.
I-
Kroos having the ability to make a pass straight through the center of the field between center backs means there was nobody cutting passing
But
lanes.
as a center back, you should be aware, okay, I'm pressing
What are you
Vini
gonna do to
Jr.
stop
Vini
it?
Jr. is one of the best in-behind runners in all of world football.
Maybe, but what are you gonna do to stop it?
That team always ends up rotating their defenders. De Ligt either plays, but he never plays with Kim. Kim plays, but he never plays with De Ligt. It's at the end of the day, it's just very, very difficult for a defender to know exactly where he should be when he doesn't even know where his other teammates are.
But why does Dyer look good and actually really good compared to a defender like Kim and Jae, who his reputation is so high, but a defender like Dyer makes him look terrible.
Don't take such a small sample size. Eric Dyer has been off.
Ever since he joined Bayern, he's been good.
He's been
first
decent,
one of the
serviceable.
first names on the team sheet.
What are the options?
De Ligt,
Clearly,
Kim and Jae,
Tuchel does not like to use De Ligt.
Upamecano. Those are all three center backs that have much higher reputations than Eric Dyer.
All the center backs on Bayern, to me, are not.
Not top tier.
You
like-
always need one of your two center backs to be like a stalwart of your defense. Like
agree.
you always need like I'd say like an Alaba type or a Thiago Silva type, like to be like, I know he's starting regardless of the situation.
So how is it that Eric Dyer, who joined in January, walked in and became that stalwart, but those three center backs that you bought for big fees can't be that stalwart?
That's Tuchel at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
I think there needs to be a discussion about Tuchel as well, because he does show that he has the ability to coach a team to a Champions League semifinal and potentially a final. But in the league, he's just not a good league manager. So what does it go down to the players, or does it come down to the manager making those selections?
I personally think Thomas Tuchel's like, outside of Pep, Ancelotti, like he's top tier, and Klopp.
this
he's top
this
tier.
brother preparing for Tuchel to go to Manchester.
No,
United.
but he is top tier, bro. Look at
Bro, he lost the league.
but look at the last 5 years of football. Okay, Thomas Tuchel made a Champions League final with PSG. Thomas Tuchel won the Champions League with Chelsea, and if he wins this round, he's gonna make another CL final. That's 3 CL finals in the last 5 years.
Where was Chelsea in the standings when they won their Champions League? In PL.
Third? I think they finished third.
If you can't do well domestically, it's like you're a king of an empire. You can't even control your city, but you're like, I think any good manager to be considered world class, you have to domestically dominate,
I agree.
and then you take it to Europe, and then you start doing well in Europe. But to lose with the team he has in the Bundesliga, or to not even compete, I know Leverkusen's having like the season of all time. They're
Yeah.
like undefeated. You can't complain, but Bayern contributed to their undefeated season.
Yeah, but I don't want to go too in depth. But on expected points, they should actually be leading the Bundesliga.
Listen, if the league was giving out awards for expected points, it'd be a different story.
But the metrics say that Leverkusen's doing way better than they should, and Bayern's doing way worse than they should.
But that's football. That's
I
football.
agree. But taking, like you said, you're taking a 1 season sample size, compare it to,
That's like 50 games already they've played.
yeah, but in the Champions League, he's made it to the semifinals and beat Arsenal, a team that you say domestically dominates. So I just don't think it's a fair criticism to him. I think he is more of a knockout manager, but to say that he's not a good domestic manager, I think is completely off. Before, when Chelsea sacked him, he was in 4th, and then as soon as they sacked him, they appointed Graham Potter, and they appointed Lampard after him, and they dropped all the way down to 14th or 13th. Like, he was holding up that team domestically.
Right before he got sacked, none of his games were convincing. Those tactics were atrocious.
But he was in 4th.
It's a scrap league. What can I say?
By the way, I need to speak about Vini Jr. The fact that this brother is not in Ballon d'Or conversations and no one brings his name up in Ballon d'Or conversations. If I'm starting a team today, other than Mbappe, I'm taking Vini. I'm taking him above Haaland. I'm taking him above who else is Pedri? I'm taking him above. I'm taking him above everyone.
Take Pedri.
Musiala. I'm taking
Take
him above
Pedri.
Musiala.
You take him above Musiala?
Yes, 100%.
That's absolutely
100%.
wild.
Musiala had a
100%.
better game, first of all.
I completely disagree.
he had a much better game than Vini Jr.
completely.
Brother, he scored a penalty
completely.
shot, and what else did he do?
Bro, that run in behind.
That's one. Why do you
But
always love
that-
to take such
the-
small sample
because
sizes?
the most important actions in the game, the ones that define the game, are the final actions.
Yeah, Tony Cruz giving him that ball He had anybody tracks that run.
That's why Sane is not an elite attacker,
Why?
and it holds him back from being that upper echelon of player because the final action is never convincing. Sane, he had not scored in he had not scored in 6 months before that game yesterday.
But he did a play. If you like basing things off of one play, Sane did the best play of the game yesterday by far.
But the final action is not convincing from
The
Sane.
final action, he scored short side on Lunin.
But what I'm saying, you're not listening. He hadn't scored in 6 months before that. I cannot call you an elite attacker when you're not putting up those. Vini Jr has 31 goals and assists this season.
I gotta see the stat on that Sane shout. 6 months.
6 months.
What? He hasn't scored what in 6 months?
A goal.
I don't believe that.
Go look it up.
I don't believe that either.
I don't believe
It's gonna be on the screen right now in the middle.
I hope it's right there. I never really rated Sane in his career at any point. I really always
No,
thought,
Man City Sane was different.
very good.
But what tier were we putting him on? He was never on like a Hazard tier.
He could have been Hazard.
He was never on a Hazard tier.
was
Don't
never there.
disrespect Hazard like
Bro,
that.
Hazard, Sane was at Man City was the best young player in the league.
Okay, all to say, I've never really rated Sane. But when I see greatness, in the last few games, I've seen greatness coming from Sane.
This is not even peak Sane. Man City Sane was
I know.
better than this Sane.
Yeah, definitely. That's why he got kicked out of City. But
He didn't get kicked out.
So,
whatever.
so do you think Tuchel is holding Sane back then? Because clearly Sane is showing that
He's getting chances. He's just not a good finisher, and that's what holds him back from being in that Vinicius tier.
I completely
because
disagree that
Vinicius,
he's a bad finisher. What? Oh my! His best Champions League goals were either one timer.
you're watching one game.
No.
He hasn't scored in 6 months, my
but
brother.
over his
I need
career.
a stat right now. I need the stat right now.
I'm fiending for. A
I'll
stat
go
right
check
now.
it right now.
I'm fiending for this stat
No,
because that's
because-
absolutely ridiculous. There's no way Sane for 6 months doesn't score, and then all of a sudden he's starting and he just scores an absolute worldie versus Real.
I'll tell you right now. I'm checking on my phone.
That's crazy to me.
Bro,
If that's
6
true,
months means he hasn't scored in
6 months he shouldn't be starting.
No, at all.
He should not be starting. Put anyone else at that point because if
His
you're not
last
scoring-
goal was October 28th
Cap in all comps.
in
October
all
28th.
comps against SV Darmstadt, where they won 8-0.
Okay, but he's still
many-
contributing, bro. He's assists, 2 assists.
Okay, but look, by the way, before that goal, his last goal and assist was February 3rd. He played 7 games without a goal or assist. So you cannot...
Wait, February 3rd?
February 3rd was
That's
his
not
last
6
goal or
months ago.
assist.
No,
That's an assist.
That's an
He
assist.
gave an assist. But you cannot be in that Vinicius tier if you have not scored a goal.
Who said he's in the Vinicius tier?
He cannot be even in, I would even say like Musiala is clear of him.
He's in the. I'd say he's. I'd put him like above a guy like Luis Diaz, and below.
But Luis
Definitely below
Diaz,
Rodrigo.
Luis Diaz is still like
Below
beneath,
Rodrigo.
yeah, beneath Rodrigo,
Yes.
100%. But Leroy Sané, at one point, had the goals and assists in him. Now he just doesn't. But he's putting in decent performances. Like Real Madrid, he was amazing. But Vinicius Jr., the fact that he's putting in as good of performances and he's getting goals and assists, for me, he should be in that Ballon d'Or conversation.
Okay, last question about this because I think we've been on this topic
Yeah.
for a long time. Ousmane Dembele or Sane?
Probably
Healthy?
Ousmane Dembele.
Well, they're
No.
both injuries,
Yes,
so they're
but
both pretty injured.
Factors considered,
Ousmane Dembele.
Probably Ousmane Dembele.
I think I don't like either.
I think Ousmane Dembele is more consistent. I really think that he's more of an X factor in the game. Sane is absolutely ridiculous, but on his day, like I just see Dembele in a more important match. I think he would contribute more.
And Sané's incredibly one-footed. Meanwhile, Dembele's incredibly two-footed. So that would be the difference maker for me.
Anyway, we'll get on to our next topic, but I'm gonna need 2 minutes to fix this mic stand, so we'll be back in a second. The mic has been secured. We're back. Barbara, what's the next topic?
So, have you guys seen this news of the Premier League spending cap limit or no?
Like a little bit,
I think you're gonna have to enlighten us, Varvar.
but I was in exam, so I wasn't tapped in.
So, the Premier League basically, I think they just approved. Now, I don't know if it's like completely applied yet, but now the Premier League, before they really had no restrictions, and the restrictions, people were still breaking them. Like Chelsea, I think Everton, and I think Nottingham Forest. That's why they got relegated. They didn't get relegated, but they got deducted points. It was called the profit and sustainability rules or whatever. So basically, it was these really naive rules that thought that they would get teams to listen to them. They didn't really get teams to listen to them. Now they're going to implement these, the spending cap limit, which people can. We're North American, so we watch a lot of North American sports, and every single North American sport, except for baseball, which they still have it, but it's a bit more soft, has a salary cap limit. Okay, so a team can only have so much in salary every single year. So in the Premier League, they want to implement that the bottom team in the Premier League makes a certain amount of TV money per year. So last year, I think Southampton made 100-something million pounds for TV money, which would be top in Serie A, but whatever, that's a whole other discussion.
Yada, yada, yada.
But 100 million something pounds, they want to times it by 4.5 or 5 and make that the cap limit per team.
Brother, that means that
400 to 500 million a year.
So basically nothing's changing.
I agree.
I think that's the argument
But
here.
I think it's the spending cap limit. So I think it's your wages plus transfer fees plus agent fees.
The problem, the discussion has always been, I haven't heard much about it, but the only thing I do know is that Man City and Manchester United voted against it.
Yeah, but it's because we're close. We're at the
And Aston Villa, I think.
Aston Villa, but I don't know why. Aston Villa is like 200 mil away from the cap, so I don't understand why.
They're trying to be a big dog.
Yeah, no, but the spending they've done in recent years, they've been trying to take that next step. But I think this would stop people like Todd Bailey coming in. I think they were really unhappy with Todd Bailey coming in and spending
I agree.
500 million in his first year, that they were like, okay, this is unacceptable. We need to find a way to not do that. It's not going to stop the Man Uniteds from spending 200 million a summer or 250 million a summer, but it's going to stop the Todd Baileys from coming in and completely de-gutting a squad and putting all back in.
The problem with a Premier League spending cap is that all you're doing is taking yourself back compared to teams in Europe. The reason why sports like NBA, football, like American football can do a salary cap is because they're the only league. So you're comparing relative to other people. So when you have an international scale, let's say all the top 5 leagues introduce a market cap that was the same for all of them. Okay, that would put them all on the same level. But now a league like Benfica, an owner like Todd Bailey is just going to go buy Benfica, spend like crazy and win the Champions League.
But the difference between the Premier League, because the Premier League is going to implement this to make sure that teams like Man City and Man United don't get too ahead of teams that, let's say, are just coming up from relegation. Because you're seeing this year, the relegation teams really cannot compete. Like, they can compete where they can stay potentially in the league.
Don't they get 150 million when they join the Premier League?
What's that? Like,
brother, Inter created a Champions League final team with less than 150
yes,
million.
but you're gonna get 150 mil, and then you're gonna, like, Luton had to spend a lot of money into their stadium. Just
Brother,
to play in the Premier League.
150 million.
Yeah, but you're not increasing the player quality.
Nottingham Forest, maybe last summer or the summer ago, if I'm wrong, spent more than probably half of Serie A combined.
That's why they breached the profit and sustainability rules and got points deducted.
So isn't this just from my perspective, I guess, is this just some sort of like financial fair play substitute where the Premier League is just deciding to take on like their own quote unquote financial fair play? Or is this something that's completely unrelated to that?
FFP only applies to teams in European competitions. So,
of course.
So it only applies to teams like Manchester United, Man City, Arsenal, Spurs.
Yeah, the top clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
But teams in the Premier League like Nottingham Forest don't have a set of rules to abide
FFP
by.
applies to everyone.
It does, but...
And Nottingham Forest was probed for FFP because when they signed 20 players all in one season.
Pretty sure FFP is only for European sides.
No. FFP applies to
FIFA
everyone.
financial fair play. It
applies to everyone.
Yeah, it's everyone. But even if it isn't, I will defend the point that there's a magnifying glass on the big teams.
Of course. But then the comparable that I'm drawing from this is, let's say, Formula One, when they have their own salary cap, but it's based on how much revenue you bring in. Ferrari is able to spend $500 million on development.
John Elkann, by the way, the same owner as Juventus.
Yeah, they're able to spend that money. Well, they're spending it on Ferrari, not on Juventus. But
That's true.
Adrian Newey, soon to join, but whatever.
Fingers crossed. But they're able to spend that money because that's what they're bringing in. And that's the salary cap. Whereas Williams, they're not able to spend as much because they're only spending what they bring in. This salary cap, for me, does not do anything but hinder the smaller teams.
I completely disagree.
No.
I think it helps the smaller teams because it stops like, because you're gonna see a large increase in foreign investment into the sport coming. So stopping people like Newcastle to have the ability to go and spend 600 million in a summer will keep the Brentfords who spend, let's say, 50 mil, 60 mil still competitive. Meanwhile, leagues like La Liga, who, I'm going to get a bit more technical, their TV rights, they can sell individually. The Premier League teams can't do that.
Yeah, it's all
Barcelona and Real Madrid can sell their TV rights individually. That's why Barcelona and Real Madrid have much, much, much bigger budgets than the rest of the league.
Barca has a budget?
Not anymore.
Well, bro, look at they just spent $1 billion on a stadium. Imagine Elche spending you can't even imagine Elche spending like 10 mil.
What changed from you were the biggest advocate for, you probably said it on TikTok maybe hundreds of times, Barca's broke. What changed
They
from
are
that till now?
broke, but it's because they're broke because they're spending all their money on their new stadium.
But the teams, let's say like United, City, Chelsea, where this salary cap, to me, looks like it won't even make a difference because the cap that they're given is money that they were going to spend anyways. There's no restriction, pretty much. It's like saying, oh, you could only eat 20 hot dogs. I can only eat 15. No, problem.
But there is a restriction now. There is a restriction. It's not, like I said, it's not going to stop the Uniteds from spending 200 million, but it's going to stop the people like Todd Bailey coming into the sports and spending 600 million.
So this is the league creating a contingency plan for new owners, international owners, to not come in, let's say a consortium or a state, pretty much, where we're seeing with Newcastle, pretty much. That's a state running a club. They're basically setting up a plan so that doesn't happen.
But it could still happen. It just limited it so that the smaller teams have a chance.
I don't think the Premier League, I've done some reading on it. I don't think the Premier League even wanted to put in these rules. They felt forced by the UK government to put in the rules because ever since the Super League fiasco, the UK government has been like, okay, we need to regulate the sport because you guys have no rules and we need to implement those rules. So this is the Premier League telling the UK government, look, we don't want you guys directly coming into the sport, so we'll try and govern ourselves instead of having you guys come in from the outside and try and govern.
But they also don't want to hurt their clubs.
Yeah.
Compare relative to the Real Madrids, Barças, and the big clubs of the world, like the Bayerns, you know. So it raises a bigger discussion that do we even want these small teams to have more of a chance versus the big teams? Because at the end of the day, even if Nottingham Forest becomes marginally better, no one is watching a Crystal Palace Nottingham Forest match. They're watching
no one outside of Nottingham and London.
And I'm sure there's fans out there that are going to be like, well, I still watch it if it's an important game. But in general, you're still only going to watch Liverpool, City, the top six, plus, a couple other clubs that are doing well, like the Brighton last seasons, So do we really want these clubs to come back up? To be like great?
Well, obviously, you want as much. You want a league to be as competitive as possible.
Brother, they get 150 million for joining the league.
Yeah, but that's because teams like United and Man City can't individually sell their TV rights.
So they're packaged all in one.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, your TV rights, even though you're the bottom team, like you're Luton Town.
Let's say Sky
you're
Sports,
in the same TV rights as United City.
Sky Sports comes up to the Premier League and is like, okay, I want the United game. They're like, okay, we can't give you the United game without the Luton game, so you need to buy both.
But that helps the small clubs.
It does help the small clubs.
Yeah, it's
but
smart.
It stops stuff like PSG, where PSG run away with their league every single year because the small clubs get no TV money and the big clubs get all the money. You want the small clubs to have a fighter's chance against the big clubs.
So really,
There's a
this should
balance.
be implemented. This should really be implemented in leagues like the French league, in Ligue.
Yeah, it should.
In the Portuguese
because the Prem actually already have that.
Like, they're fine. Those small teams, like the Premier League is a very competitive league on its own.
You will never ever see Real Madrid and Barcelona give up their TV rights. Now that they've gotten that, you will never see them say, you know what, maybe it's best if we take a little less money now for in the
something
future.
in return.
Yeah.
But at the same rate, I mean, not to go off topic too much, but you grow the league. When the smaller teams become better, you grow the
100%.
league as a total. So it's like you said, you take less now for more money later. But
That's
also,
what made the Premier League so good
Real
now.
and Barca run their league. They run it, so the government would have to take, we're going a little bit too deep into the...
Real Madrid and Barcelona run the league. That's stopping teams like potentially Atletico Madrid or Sevilla or Athletic Bilbao from taking that next step and becoming the next Real Madrid or Barcelona. It's like they closed it out for everyone.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I do think that something like this does need to be implemented in world football because clearly financial fair play does not work. We've seen it for years now. It does not work. So I think on a larger scale, salary cap should be discussed within other leagues. It's just, as you said before, it's very difficult to implement when everyone's in their own different league. It only works for North American sports at the end of the day. North American sports were able to put in salary caps because there's no relegation. Every team stays in the same league every single year. It's just much easier because everyone... The margins between each team are much smaller than they are in the Premier League.
And we're just going to skim over this because we spent a lot of time on this topic. Do you find that the sport's getting a bit too Americanized? Or do you enjoy the aspects of Americanization that we are taking?
I think Europeans don't like the idea of Americanization. But when it happens, when the wool gets pulled over their eyes and they don't see it happening and it happens, they'll realize how nice it is. Because
I agree.
One thing the Americans know how to do best is put on a show.
I think we've said this multiple times already on TikTok as well. The MLS in the next 10, 15 years will be a top league. I don't think there's any...
Probably not top five.
Not top five, but
fringe,
top.
But fringe, maybe a fringe league.
Compared to where it was 10 years ago, there's no other league in the world that's growing at that rate because they know how to commodify the sport. They know marketing. They know how financially things work. They'll give Messi the TV rights because they know that overall that'll grow the league. They know about how to invest.
I think the MLS, if I'm wrong, are bringing in teams. New teams are costing $500 million. $500 million American dollars. It's
a lot, but it's really not that much in the grand scheme of things.
But that means they value their league high and there's a demand for it because teams are obviously buying in at $500 million.
Soccer in the States, but football in the United States is, I think, the fastest growing sport besides football, maybe. I
think it's the fastest growing.
I think it is the fastest growing sport. Now, every other sport...
Sure, it's not slap boxing?
It could be pickleball. Okay, it could be pickleball.
I'll go for a pickle right now.
But I do think that Europeans, they do take that hard stance against commodifying the sport. They do want that integrity, the tradition. But at the same time, you want your leagues to compete. You don't want to stay archaic.
And look, I don't want it to completely swing this way, but we're from Canada, so we all watch hockey. The hockey... like the round of 16 equivalent to NHL playoffs, the first round of the NHL playoffs, very rarely is there a matchup where you can say, oh, that team's winning 100%. European, the round of 16, almost every single time you can say, oh, that team's going through 100%. Maybe there's
it depends.
No, but maybe there's a crazy underdog story that happens once in a while.
Are they wearing the shirt?
Yeah, but
we all at PSV.
Yeah, but okay, but PSV Dortmund's a 50-50
Okay,
game.
I think I took Dortmund, to be fair.
It's a 50-50 game. At the end of the day, that's a 50-50 game, but that's the only 50-50 game.
You didn't see it as...
You clearly did not see it as a 50-50 game, Robert. The comps show us. Yeah. We don't need to look far back now.
But I think there's a healthy balance. There's a healthy balance to be found there. I don't think every single matchup should be 50-50, but I think that you should have more round of 16 enjoyment because I think the round of 16 this year was very disappointing. So
we got to do a whole Super League episode one day.
Because
I don't think the people truly understand our stance on the Premier on the Super League. Because just to skim over it for a half a second, the Champions League is literally creating the Super League without you people even knowing it. They're literally creating a league next season. It's a bigger group. A bigger group means you're creating a league. You're going to have more matchups versus a bunch of different teams. But whatever.
We were for Super League just really against the relegation. No relegation.
I agree.
Anyway, I digress.
That's a topic for another day. That's something. Get the popcorn out for that one.
But our next topic, which is a slightly shorter topic, and we kind of spoke about it, is the streaming services. Because accessibility to these games and the ability to sell out your games is really affecting our experiences watching football.
Look, in Canada, we have to buy... if you want to watch Premier League or Serie A, you get Fubo.
Yep.
If you want to get Champions League, you have to buy DAZN. If you want to watch Ligue 1, let's say your favorite team's PSG, you need to buy beIN Sports. If you want to watch Bundesliga, you need to get Sportsnet. If you want to watch the FA Cup, you need to watch Sportsnet.
If you want to watch La Liga, you have to buy, what is it, ESN?
TSN. It's on TSN. And they don't even show you all the games on there.
And you want Team Canada. You went to
one
Canada.
football.
Oh, brother, boot up football Reddit screen.
Yeah. Like, we cannot watch a clear Canada soccer game at all.
And people in the UK complain while they only have to buy 3 or 4, which is not even bad compared to
But
what
it
we have
still
to enjoy.
is bad.
It's ridiculous.
Why can we not centralize streaming? I know because money's involved, but let's figure it out.
That's why the Premier League wants to centralize their streaming, and I think whoever does that first will reap so much rewards.
The Premier League is the forerunner for that. I was listening to a podcast about Serie A recently, and the host actually brought it up, talking about how it would be interesting if Serie A started looking into making their own centralized streaming services. And then the topic got brought up about the Premier League and how the Premier League rumors are that, I mean, it takes years to develop an app like that, to develop an actual streaming service that's reliable, and like, who's going to want to pay £120 or whatever to watch, bad quality service games. But the first, like you said, to do that is going to be massive, because we're going to buy it from North America. People from the UK are going to buy it. And the money, there's no cut. There's no 20% to the stream. There is 100% to the league.
But then the issue comes, okay, well then what happens to your TV rights? You're going to have to sell them at a discount because your service is already being
Forget it.
streamed. Like, you're probably going to have to throw away the TV rights.
I think I'm not sure if the Super League actually said that they were going to offer it for free, if I'm not mistaken.
I find that's just a fairy tale, in my opinion. That's just something to just throw a bone at people so that they could just say, okay, well, Super League isn't that bad.
It's a classic politician.
It's a little bait and switch. I could see it from a mile away. But the MLS does this. Apple, you want to watch the MLS? Apple TV Plus.
Yeah.
You need Apple TV to
Well,
watch
yeah.
MLS.
If you have season tickets, you get it for free.
That's another thing. If we wanted to watch our local club, you need to buy Apple TV
which,
also.
by the way, just the loan costs like $100 and something dollars per year.
But that's the direction that the sport could be taking. Unfortunately, it's not good for us, because especially people that love the sport but don't necessarily have the means and the funds to pay $1,000 a year for all these streaming services. We do need that centralized app. And listen, we're seeing it with Champions League. Champions League, we got to put on the zone. Put on football. We got football for Serie A. Like, it's ridiculous. But I think this comes up in the sense, like, in the same discussion as what does the Premier League do to gain as much revenue as possible while keeping the playing field relevant,
and the exposure
as close, and because the exposure.
If a league like Serie A, which has died relative to its glory days, if that was available for, I know many people that would say, I just have nowhere to, I don't have football, so I can't watch it, but I'd watch it. A lot of people would want to watch these other leagues, but I would watch the Bundesliga.
But it's because the issue,
if it was accessible.
Yes, the issue is that clubs like Bayern and Dortmund would survive without their TV right money for 2-3 years. It's the clubs like Heidenheim and stuff like that who their entire club relies on that check from TV rights. It's like, I mean, if you took away the TV rights from Brentford, they're gonna get relegated within a season. Like, it's like certain clubs, Salernitana. Imagine you took away TV rights from Salernitana. They're getting relegated to Serie D so fast. It's not even.
I don't.
Even funny.
That's a macro issue. It's not a micro issue. That's something like TV rights. It'll cut the spending, and then Salernitana is just gonna have to sell certain players. But those are teams that they have a better shot of getting relegated than staying up anyways. You know what I mean? Like, won't affect them as much. Maybe those fringe teams that are close to relegation, sure, but at the end of the day, it's very lucrative.
But the deals you're getting for your TV rights ultimately decide how well your league does.
Is doing.
And it's also the deal also represents how healthy your league currently is. But all your lower teams having a good deal gives all of those teams better opportunities to scout players. Then they get better players. Then your league starts buying, like the top teams start buying the better players from the sub teams, and now your league is healthier as a whole.
Exactly.
So you would think your relegation teams don't matter, but they do matter because they're producing the talent that's going up. It's like a guy like Kulusevski, a random example, came from Parma. Juventus, if Parma didn't have the means to buy get a guy going to Sweden to scout from Malmo, Kulusevski.
You bought him from Atalanta, but yeah.
It was whatever, but Atalanta bought him from Parma and had to have a scout from Malmo, but whatever. The whole process.
That process doesn't happen without those teams having the means to get a player from there. But I think the whole environment of TV streaming, sports streaming does need to change, because we cannot be cycling through apps just to find a random game.
And I think it's not even just a North American issue. issue all around the world. Like, I just can't believe that someone hasn't figured it out. And I think it's way more accessible in Europe, and they still have issues. So,
if it was easy, they would have done it already, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
well, you know what will be streamed this week? And right before, this is going to be our last topic before we take a break, watch that Dortmund PSG game, and then get back into it. Liverpool Spurs, okay? Yes, it's a meaningless game, but Liverpool have now dropped points to West Ham and dropped points to Everton before that. They're 99% gonna finish third this season. Would you consider it a successful Liverpool season?
brother, no.
Why? Like, what makes you want to say that?
I mean, I don't disagree with you.
No, but I'm saying, what brings this up at all?
Because I think if you asked, if Man United, let's just say, I just want to say this, if Man United win the FA Cup, did we have a better season than Liverpool?
No, but that would
disagree.
That would be immature to debate that.
I don't know.
We won the FA Cup. It's a better season than Liverpool.
It's a
Yeah, but where
trophy
did you finish in the league?
Whatever, we'll see, 6th or 7th. But
That's why it's naive even saying that it's comparison.
If you got maybe Europa,
that was Europa.
Okay, but let's say Champions League and the FA Cup. I'm like, okay, that's a decent season from United, but obviously we had higher hopes. Liverpool, on the other hand, I think I had them either second.
We all had them top 4, I think.
Top 4 minimum.
4th or 5th.
Minimum. Like, I was expecting them to challenge for the title, but a much stronger title challenge. They just stumbled, mumbled, rumbled their way to a title race, and then all of a sudden, that gas ran out and they started losing points. They lost the title versus Everton.
And there's frustration. I'd say it seems like there's frustration in the club.
Did you see Salah and Klopp? Is Salah leaving this summer? What's the prediction?
Bro, his foot is already on the plane to
Al Ittihad. He's going to Al Ittihad. 100%.
He's gone. Unfortunately, listen, I said this before, but I do think Liverpool, there's an opportunity for them to be in a very, very bad spot after Klopp leaves.
Yeah,
and I said 100%. It before, and I got ripped for it.
And for the Saudi league, if they get after Ronaldo, I think this would be the biggest coup for the Saudi league after Ronaldo.
I'm still not watching.
Who cares? That's the thing. Who cares?
But if Saudi league was easily accessible to us,
then maybe I'll watch.
In Canada, you might just throw on a game.
Actually,
if Al Nassr Al Hilal came on, you might just turn it on.
I think it's on Fubo.
It is?
I could be mistaken.
Oh, damn, you crazy. Yeah, it's right. That's right.
I think it might be on Fubo. If it was more accessible.
If I could watch it, I'd watch it.
So I shoulda, woulda, coulda.
We ain't watching.
That's the thing. It's not enticing enough for me to watch just because of 4 or 5 players.
I'd rather watch a Leipzig-Leverkusen game.
Honestly, I'm watching like Toronto FC versus Columbus Crew.
And what if teams like Al Hilal or Al Ittihad started getting included in Champions League?
That's a different
the sport
topic.
at that point. The sport is cooked. The sport is cooked. We sold our souls. I don't want to get into the politics, but like Maccabi Haifa, they're in Champions League, no?
Yeah.
Wherever they're from isn't I know, but I don't want to say it. But wherever they're from isn't part of Europe. They're on the other side of the Mediterranean. They ain't part of Europe. So how do they buy their way? That's a buying into the Champions League.
Yeah,
I don't care. You have nowhere to play.
But
you're not part of Europe.
There's always been teams like that. Like even in Europa League, like Inter. I remember back in the day was facing Hapoel Beersheba, which is in the same region as Maccabi Haifa.
No, I think it's Cyprus. No,
brother, it's one or the other. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure they're from where Maccabi.
I'm so against buying into leagues. I'm like it's wild to think that the sport can sell out to a point where Al Ittihad can play in the Champions League.
At the end of the day, right now, Salah going to the Saudi League is great for the Saudi League. I'm sure it's gonna boost sales, boost revenue, whatever. But
that's that's bigger than Benzema joining. Like
bigger than Benzema, not bigger than Ronaldo.
No,
I've never seen so many Al Nassr shirts in my life.
But Salah's a legitimate world superstar.
Yes, of course.
I would argue it's bigger than Neymar joining at this point in his career.
Yes, because Neymar was coming off. No, Neymar's just name. He wasn't playing well before he went to Al Hilal.
He was playing decent, but I would say
you said it.
I would say Salah's the first coup that they got that was like this guy was shooting at all cylinders before he left.
Yes.
Like had the potential to win Ballon d'Or before he left.
No. This season, this is Salah's worst season ever.
I completely disagree.
This is his worst season ever.
No, I completely disagree.
Considering where he started the season before,
you could go into next year and say Salah could win the Ballon d'Or, and I would not call you crazy.
No,
I don't even think Liverpool fans would agree with you.
I don't think.
I don't want to I don't even think they would agree with you.
I don't think so.
I don't think it's crazy to say next year Salah could win Ballon d'Or.
I was actually watching while studying at the library downtown. I was watching the Everton Liverpool game with a Liverpool fan, and
It's horrendous.
And he was even saying Salah recently, second half of the season, really disappointing. So,
Yeah, I agree. But
his mentality isn't there. His motivation's not there. Like I think after that, especially after the Atalanta like getting dunked on by Atalanta
at the fortress that Varvar calls Anfield.
the fortress apparently getting dunked on, like that season. Their season was over. Their season, you saw it in the players.
Yeah,
they don't really want to play, and it's so disappointing because technically they were still in the race before the Everton game.
And Klopp's leaving Liverpool with little to no legacy.
That's what I'm saying. Well, little to little.
One
Still Champions
PL,
League.
one CL.
I mean,
you guys see that tweet that was saying?
Yeah, if they win 4 more games.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
bro, if Ferguson won like 6 more games, I think he ends up with like so many more
Bro,
trophies.
forget it. If
if my grandmother had wheels, she would have been a bike.
Massimiliano Allegri won 2 more games in his career, he'd have 2 trebles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then his whole legacy changes.
Yeah, the whole landscape of him being the best manager of all
That's
time
one of the
was just 2.
stupidest things I've ever read in my life, but whatever.
I know. But it's just Twitter.
Court of public opinion. That's what it is.
And it's Liverpool fans on Twitter.
But right now, Premier League, top of the list because the title's still on. Champions League places are still on. So we're excited for this weekend.
So all that, and we're gonna try to watch this PSG Dortmund game,
Yeah,
and
It's about
hopefully
to start.
we'll be back in 2.5 seconds, but it's actually gonna be in 90 minutes.
Yeah, we'll see you guys later. Game just finished. 1-0 Dortmund. Not what I expected. That's not what I said on the TikTok.
Varvar, all we got to say,
Oh, that was a nice snap I just had.
got to get the comps out now. Get ready. And you're wearing the Dortmund kit too. This is just lining up great.
Look, we got a Sancho masterclass out of that. So at the end of the day,
You still win.
Man United still made money tonight. That's an extra 10 mil to his price tag. We take that.
10 mil.
That'll
You're,
get you-
you're
that'll
still
get
in the
you like 3
negatives, my
appuccino.
friend.
10 mil schmeckles.
Yeah, you're still. It's crazy. You're paying 2/3 of his salary while he's balling out in the semifinals of the Champions League.
Yeah. But look,
There you know,
The guy was a man of the match today. If we're going to talk about the game, which we're going to talk about it, but Sancho, man,
11
Well,
dribbles.
insane.
More.
Insane game.
Looking
plan.
like
I think
Messi
maybe
out there.
more.
Looking at... That's as far as the analysis is going to go.
But that brings up, bro. Nuno Mendes was getting cooked out there.
That was getting...
PSG players have this thing where people like, because people are not watching them on a weekly basis in Ligue 1, people are overrating them. It's like Marquinhos in Ligue 1.
No, man. I think everyone has the idea that PSG is
How
not the
is
same PSG they were last.
how is Marquinhos still getting 87, 88 rated center back cards on FIFA?
He's still good comparative to his
You can't
peers.
use FIFA sometimes.
You
and not other
can,
times.
because it does reflect somewhat the main thinking of a player.
Yeah, I know, but I think it affects what people think of the player instead of the people affecting the rating.
So was this game a Dortmund masterclass or is this a PSG flop?
I wouldn't say, honestly, it was a good game. It was just a good, well-balanced game, I think.
They both could have had Dortmund could have scored when Sancho did that solo run.
Yeah.
They could have scored there the same way that Fabian Ruiz could have scored that header. Mbappe could have scored that
It was a
post shot.
50-50 game. It's just Dortmund finished their chance, and PSG, the chances did not fall to people like, well, Mbappe hit the post once, but
And who else in the same place?
Hakimi.
But
it was a good game. I think Fulkrug, the GOAT, and finished his chance, and that's why you have a clinical striker instead of someone like Kolomouani.
clinically ready for the clinic, bro. At 31 years old, starting for Dortmund.
Kolomouani came on and did absolutely nothing. I know it was later in the game, but
Can't expect. Well, he did a couple breakout runs, but
that was it. Honestly, Dortmund. At the end of the day, it was margins. Dortmund finished that one chance, and PSG they had I don't know how many chances to score, and they were not able to get it done.
And did you see how many people were in that Dortmund box at the end there? That was like
The yellow wall.
Prime Jose Mourinho, like parked the bus at the end of the game.
one thing I will say, I think Luis Enrique got it wrong. I think he got the game wrong. I think in general, Hakimi and Nuno Mensch were bought for not Luis Enrique. Like, he does not have fullbacks that fit towards his system. To play a 4-back, to use Hakimi anything but a right wing is wasting Hakimi.
Hakimi was never known for his defensive prowess. Like, this man is pace and attacking. And you saw every time Hakimi got the ball, he was looking for a pass. He was never trying to dribble past anyone down the line. So that's just the way Enrique plays, unfortunately. And I think the biggest loser here out of that PSG team, Fabian Ruiz. Fabian Ruiz was the biggest, like he is the biggest loser on that team, in my opinion.
He's the
terrible.
biggest loser.
He is the biggest loser.
He's a
He's
loser.
about to end up at Inter probably in a couple of years.
And he'll be the greatest midfielder.
No, but you have to be 34 to. They have a rule. They have a transfer policy.
Minimum 34, but
Receding hairline too. But that's actually the steroids that does that. So that's interesting.
exactly. But
That's next episode.
Mbappe ghost
episode.
sesh, by the way.
What?
I don't know about ghosts.
That was not a ghost sesh. You see that flick pass? That flick
Look,
pass he
for the
made?
best player in the world, that's a ghost sesh.
Cap. He's had a way bigger goal session.
Dembele was better than him.
Brother, his last leg was a
Dembele was
bigger
better
goal
than him.
session.
Yeah. Last game was a bigger goal sesh.
But he scored.
Scored a penalty.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we watched that and we knew Dembele was better than Mbappe the last leg. But I mean, it's only 1-0.
Yeah.
Next game's Parc des Princes.
Yeah.
They still have the chance to turn it around at home. So, like, if I'm a PSG fan, I wouldn't be too worried. But you left there knowing that you could have won. That's the problem.
Dortmund fans, I know you're probably going to think, oh my God, Varvar is going to start respecting us. No, you're still the Fugazis. You guys are not going to do anything in the final. Even if you make the final, which you're still not going to make the final. But even if you think you're going to make the final, you're going to do nothing in the final. You're going to get destroyed. The most one-sided final we will ever see if you even make the final. So that's all I'm going to say.
Varvar, at one point, are you going to
Never.
agree?
They will actually need to lift a trophy for me to actually respect them. It reminds me of Spurs with Pochettino.
Where do you think Dortmund finish in the Premier League this season?
Not even top 4. If
I agree.
100%.
I agree.
There's no other answer. Honestly, like 6th, above Man United. I would say just above Man United.
There we go. Now you got a bit of respect back.
I don't know. I don't know how they're playing
Worse than
domestically.
Spurs.
I don't know how they do versus teams that are worse than them because they haven't played any team that's worse than them.
They've dropped
thus
points
far.
all season at the end. Like that's just the way it's been for Dortmund.
Yeah.
I think it's almost like Bayern. They're putting all their effort into Champions League because they know that they have.
Well, they also have the aura for it.
They have a shot for it. So they said, why not? Might as well.
If Dortmund made the CL final, it would be the worst CL final appearance we would ever see in our lifetime. Like
You say that, and I completely disagree with you because I like to agree with that statement, but in the reality, I see all those videos on TikTok. How many people love the fairy tale story of Dortmund? The
it
fan
would be
base.
the worst team that's ever made the CL
Yes,
final.
but it's entertaining for the sport, for the sport, not for people that actually like. I want to see the best versus the best in the finals.
Yeah.
But for the sport, people love the Cinderella story.
But last time we had the best versus the best, let's say we go back to that COVID year, Bayern versus PSG. Those are arguably the two best teams in the world at that point.
And it was a boring game.
And it was terrible.
What was it, 1-0 in the end? It was
yeah,
1-0.
but we all got together to watch it.
Yeah.
Like it got
But
viewers.
we hated it.
Yeah, but we hate it because we're watching this like it was meant to be this monster game hit for the
Kingsley
history
Coman?
books.
Kingsley Coman
Yeah.
scored?
Kingsley Coman scored. And Coutinho assist too. I'm pretty sure. Could it be?
I don't remember, but he was on that team, but I
Yeah.
don't remember.
But still, the point stands is that the two biggest teams doesn't really equate to the best game ever all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
also when you have the worst and the best, like last season, Inter and Man City, it also was a boring game.
That was not
But
a boring
who
game.
wants
That
to
game was
watch? Like, let's say it's Real Madrid against Dortmund in the final. Okay,
okay.
who's going? Oh my God, I can't wait to watch Fulkrug against Vinicius.
Casuals don't care as much as I think we do. We think they do. I think casuals aren't looking at lineups like we are and saying what some people like us would look at a lineup and say, this is sick. I get to watch a full health blank. But some people just are like, oh my God, it's Dortmund. This is a fairy tale story. Marco Reus. And then they go watch and they're like, oh, where's Marco Reus? Brother has not been starting for this entire season.
The guy came on 80
The guy
minutes
sucks
today.
now. Now he sucks.
Yeah, but most people are like, oh, Marco Reus is going to live this Champions
That's you
League.
with Dybala, bro.
Huh?
No.
That's you with Dybala. You still
Nah.
think he's good?
No,
Because he is good.
he
He's still good.
No.
It's because you don't watch. But
You
anyway.
just don't watch Roma. But I hope you tune into
Anyway,
Leverkusen versus
you're going
Roma.
to catch a fade after we finish recording this podcast.
You, better,
probably.
you won't see Vavra on this podcast ever again. We don't know where he's going to be, though. Don't worry.
Next week it'll be calm. It'll just be like me and Millie.
It was
Oh, by the way, completely forgot
Yeah.
to mention this. Actually, we might mention it. Yeah, I don't know. Firms isn't here because he's on vacation, but it's usually 4 people. It's usually
Yeah.
4 people.
Firms is just enjoying the scenes in
Italy.
He's doing
Yeah.
some scouting work for us in
Yeah.
Italy.
Just going to see the stadiums and stuff like that. Let's have a great
He's
time.
going to check the infrastructure of the
He was actually at the Inter Milan celebrations.
Oh yeah, because he's actually a closeted Inter
Yeah,
fan. He doesn't
yeah.
tell you guys because he wears a Milan kit, but he's a closeted Inter fan. He was
Yeah.
actually there. You didn't see the stories.
He
though.
was at the Duomo, like celebrating till 4
yeah.
a.m.
He was actually like in the Duomo too.
Yeah,
Wow.
he
He
was
was actually
act-
on the tour. He was actually on the buses.
And he was actually holding up the sign for Dumfries. He actually gave
He
Dumfries
gave it to
the sign.
Dumfries.
Yeah.
with
I
the
think
dog.
he was part of the group that threw rocks at the AC Milan store in
Yeah.
Milan.
I think he was actually there singing.
He was the rock.
He was. Firms, we hope you're having a great time in Italy.
Yeah.
Hope to see you soon.
I guess that's it, boys. We covered all the topics we wanted to cover this week.
Listen,
Episode 2 done.
first leg has been pretty insane. Well,
Yeah.
listen, for the one game has been insane. This PSG Dortmund game.
It was good.
It was good. It was good. Just a lot of
It
missed
just
chances.
didn't feel like a semifinal.
Oh, then.
It felt like a quarterfinal or around the 16 game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed this, if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, they
Apple
leave
Music,
a.
Make sure you
Spotify.
follow.
But do
Give
they
us
leave a
a
review
review.
or something? I don't
They
know.
gotta-
how.
They gotta
could leave a review if they want, but we're
up
not
to-
asking all that.
I know, but if you like it, then leave a good review. If you don't
Yeah.
like it, leave a bad review. We can't tell you what to do.
either way, we're gonna have a good time anyway.
Yeah.
We're gonna be having a good time.
And make sure you sub on this new channel, by the way, if you guys are watching it on that.
True. So make sure to check that down below if you're on YouTube. Thank you guys for watching. We love you. See you next week.
Peace out.
Adios.